Hello my friends, this is Teresa at Teresa's Crafty Cabana, and today I'm bringing out my alcohol inks and some inkjet printing to do a little bit of experimenting. I have some hand sanitizer, a mini mister with 91% alcohol, some alcohol lift ink, a blower tool, and I pulled out an alloy which is silver. Also have my blending solution. So for this first print, I'm just putting down the blending solution and using a brayer to get it to cover the entire surface of the jelly plate. Then I've got my colors. I've got some turquoise, some citrus, some sunshine yellow, flamingo, and gumball. Then I'm just going to drop these down and just blend them out with my blower tool. I wanted a purple, so at the very top I added my turquoise in with the pink. I also added alcohol around the outside and just blended the colors together and blended that alcohol in with those colors. So what inspired me to try these different techniques that I'm trying in today's video is I got a question from a friend who has a new business and she has some business cards, and she wanted to know, would it be possible for me to add jelly printing over the top of her design if it was just a black and white front of her business card? So that's what I wanted to do, some experimenting to see if you could see the text if it was on the back of all the jelly printing. I knew alcohol inks are transparent, so I definitely wanted to go with that as the medium of choice. And then on top of that, she would like silver. The colors she did not want at all were red, gold, brown, and beiges, so I was avoiding those colors, but she did like all of the other bright colors and silver. So this first one I'm going in with some silver, and I have this kind of a design that I just printed out with my inkjet printer just to get an idea if text on your paper would show through after you jelly print on top of it. So this was one of my experiments. I'm not really going in order. I did some kind of not so great ones in the very beginning, and then I kind of wanted to show you the ones that I think turned out a little bit better. So this is the silver background, which by itself looks amazing. I love how this looks, and if it were printed over, say, a business card, I would definitely say it's slightly legible, but it's also slightly not legible, so I wouldn't think that this one would be a great option. Perhaps my silver is a little too thick and not transparent enough of a silver, which I might play with some different silvers and see, but this was the only one I brought out today. If you tilt the design, you can read it, but if you're looking right at it and it's in the sunshine or any kind of light, you can't read it at all. So only at an angle, which is, I guess, cool if you're going for a mystical effect, but I'd say this probably wouldn't work for putting this over a business card design. But the colors I loved. Then I had printed out another page and I accidentally got it stuck on my jelly plate, and I realized it was picking up all of the ink from the inkjet printing, so I went ahead and made a little design. This was just me having fun, kind of like an accidental fun design that I discovered my inkjet printing could do, almost like stamping. So I just kind of filled in all of these little areas with parts of the words. There's no dry time, so I just went in with some silver over the top, and basically I was trying to clean off my jelly plate anyway to get ready for my next print. So this was kind of a happy accident. And for this card, the paper that I'm using is cardstock. It's 110-pound cardstock. And that turned out really cool. Again, this is what my inkjet printing looks like, and it didn't ruin the inkjet printing at all. It didn't take away from the ink on my page. It just has this kind of a charcoal color when you jelly print like this. So I thought that was kind of fun. I might use that for something in the future with my jelly printing. Just knowing that I could do that was pretty neat. For this next print, I'm going to use some blending solution, and instead of brayering it out, I'm going to use a blower tool. I just want to cover the background again with liquid, and then that way my inks will already start kind of blending out or moving a little bit. I've got here are the listed colors that I used: the turquoise, the citrus, the sunshine yellow, the flamingo, and the gumball. And again with the turquoise, just making a purple at the top. I just use my blower tool to blow those colors around. So this combination of what I'm doing on the Gelli plate is probably the technique I would use if I were to Gelli print over business cards. And I'm actually probably going to do a collaboration with my friend to do some of these designs over her business cards. So next up I have some alcohol ink just in a little bottle that I'm using all the way around the edge. Anywhere that there's harsh lines, I'm putting the alcohol. I'm kind of just making those colors go back in, and then I'm blowing the alcohol into those colors. And then I'll add in a little bit more color as the alcohol has kind of washed away some of those colors. And I'll blend that all out until I'm happy with the look of it. I'm trying, in this particular technique, I'm trying to not have very many harsh lines and not as many kind of like dark spaces, so that, because the darker spots could kind of hinder the text. To give it a little bit more interest, I have a mini mister with some 91% alcohol. This creates a lot of texture on the background. And I'll blow out some of those areas, and then I will use my blow dryer on a low setting to dry them in place. Once it's completely dry, I add my Distress Matte Collage medium. This is the medium that I found works the best for this technique. It is transparent when you lift it up on your page. It doesn't have the kind of like wrinkles in it or texture. It comes out really smooth and kind of seamless, and it doesn't bleed through the paper. So some of the other techniques I'll be showing today have some of those downfalls, and this one did not. So after I let this dry completely, I removed my paper that had my inkjet printing on it, and you can read the text. You can tilt it in the light and you can still read the text. It doesn't disappear on you. The only thing this doesn't have is some silver in it. So I'll have to keep thinking about how I would add silver in this mix without it covering up the text. But other than that, I would definitely say these would make some really fun, unique, and interesting looking business card designs over my friends' business cards. So let me know in the comments if you can think of a way I could add silver that wouldn't hinder the text. And with that being said, I will show you some of the other techniques I played with before I came to this final summary of what I loved. So I had this other one that I had printed out it was another just text that I had printed out in a business card size, and this was the first time I realized that I could use my inkjet to transfer my words onto the gel plate. And when I removed it, it did have the words, but I didn't know how to transfer those words up, so I thought maybe I had to seal it somehow. So I used Perfect Pearls in this case to put over the words, because I was going to alcohol ink on top of this, and I thought that the alcohol ink would make those words disappear. So that's why I did this. Again, this was just experimenting. I put some blending solution down, and I did some of my silver alloy, blended that out behind those words, and then I went ahead and added in some colors. So I'll just kind of let you watch and see my process here, but mostly I'm just exploring to see what kind of things I can discover by playing with my alcohol inks, some of the silver alloy, the blending solution, and in this case I had some Perfect Pearls on the Gelli plate. In this experiment, I only had the alloy at the bottom, the silver alloy. So I came in with my 91% alcohol at the top, put my alcohol ink colors up here. I wanted to see if I could get that alloy to move to the colors up above without having a full amount of the silver. So maybe just like spots of the silver. And I was able to get some of the silver to move into that area, although most of it had kind of situated itself where it was on the plate. Here's where I added some of the misting to get the texture. This is a really fine mist, but if you squeeze slowly, it makes bigger droplets. So I was able to get a couple of different sizes. And then once that dries, what I'm doing on this print is I'm taking my alcohol lift ink. It's a re-inker, and I'm just spraying that gently over the top. Now I learned this technique from Tiffany Solario. If you watch her, I'll link her video that I got inspiration to try this one. And I really like the effects of what I get. But what I didn't like about this technique is that the alcohol lift ink bleeds right through this cardstock, the 110-pound cardstock. And I'm afraid for this technique of what I'm trying to do with business cards that it would leak through to the other side or bleed through. So that's the only reason I didn't love this technique. And you can see at the bottom there where the perfect pearls are, it doesn't pull that up at all, and it didn't pull up all of the silver alloy either. When I lifted up the business card area, it looked really cool. This was the area that didn't have that much silver. It had little spots of silver, like where the little bubbles were or the little spots, but I liked this. I just didn't think that this would be a good option just because it bled right through. But I would definitely use this technique again for my own self if I was using this for card making or mixed media, because I do love how that looks. The other part of Tiffany Solario's video is she used alcohol hand sanitizer. I think this is like 67 or 70% alcohol, and she brayered it onto the background. The difference that I'm doing is I'm adding in some blending solution on top. I don't think she did that step, but maybe she did and I just didn't see it. And then I put in the alloy and a little more blending solution and just kind of blended the silver out before going in with my colors. And so here's where I'll just kind of usually add my colors, the blending solution, and then once I'm done adding the blending solution, I'll come in with my 91% alcohol and just kind of let everything blend together. For this one, I'm going to use Mod Podge as my clear adhesive to pull this print up. Trying to see if Mod Podge would be the right pick, but I will tell you this was not my favorite choice, and I'll show you why. I don't know if it'll pick it up in the camera. I was able to get a nice thin layer of the Mod Podge on the gel plate. I put my business card type thing down and used my cardstock over the top. All of this was fine. And then I did let this dry for probably about 10 minutes. And as it was okay. But the one thing that the Mod Podge does is it leaves kind of like streaks. The silver kind of throws it off, but when you see it in person, you can actually see the brayer marks on the top of the paper. And it doesn't blend right in like how the matte medium, the collage medium from Distress, how that one blends right in and you don't see it. This one left, like when you look at it and you tilt it, it just looked like glue on top. So it didn't have a very nice seamless look to it. So I did not like the Mod Podge at all. On this print, I'm trying to get more of the silver incorporated into my print to see if I can get anywhere with that. So I did a layer of the blending solution, blended it out with my brayer, added in my colors, and then on top of my colors added in my alloy and blending solution on top, and just kind of mixed those together. With this one, I picked it up and I started crinkling the jelly plate to try to get some more texture. And I was trying to remove a little bit of that silver, or kind of move it so it wasn't as much in one spot. The medium I used on this one was Slow Dry Blending Gel Medium from Artist Loft. This is from Michaels. And it's pretty thick, kind of. It is a gel medium, but it was very, very thick. So brayering it out, it took quite a few passes. I didn't show them all on video, but I kept going back to my brayer off page and trying to get it thinner and thinner. I pulled this one off without letting it dry, so probably I only left it on for about 30 seconds before I pulled it off. I wasn't sure what to expect with this one, so I did have leftover alcohol ink on the gel plate, so I went in on top of that without adding any more silver. I just added my alcohol inks and some blending solution and some alcohol to try to see if I could get the silver that was left on the gel plate to move around at all. I decided to try Mod Podge on this one as well, just to see if having more color on the background would make the appearance of it look a little bit better. I did make sure to brayer it out nice and thin. I didn't add a card on this one, like a little mock business card. I just added the paper. I let it dry, and I was able to pull this entire print up. And it looked really nice because of that silver. And the silver actually kind of distracts from the Mod Podge. But I would still say the Mod Podge was not my favorite, because in the areas where there was less color, you could definitely see the texture of the Mod Podge. But this would make a really nice design for a background or some die cuts, which I already have some die cuts in mind for it. So here is another one that I did with the blending solution, brayering it out, and then I added all my colors in. I just kept doing the same technique I'd been doing, adding in my alcohol, blending it out with my colors, just trying to keep some of those harsh edges from being too harsh on some of the sides. And then of course I came in with my blow dryer and made sure to stop the alcohol from moving by drying it. In this case, I had some of this foil. It's the kind of foil that you could use on like a double stick tape or something, and it adheres. It's like a sticky foil adhering. Anyway, I tried it on my jelly plate just to see if I could get it to stick. And I did get it to stick in some areas, and it looked really cool at this point. But what I didn't consider is that when you pull the gel print, it comes up backwards. So I'll show you what it looks like on the other side. I did use my Collage Matte Medium from Distress on this one. And I did let this dry about 10 minutes. And this was actually the first time I had used the Matte Distress Collage Medium, and that's when I realized I really liked how this print came out with the Collage Medium. The silver flakes, however, they were just the matte side of the silver. They kind of look like silver, so if you're going for that kind of a look, it could still work out for you. But to me, it was a dull silver, so I wouldn't do this technique again. I was going for the shiny side and I didn't get that. So for this last print that I'm going to show you, I started with my 91% alcohol, brayered that onto my gel plate, then added in all of my colors once again. So this time I added my alloy to the back of the alcohol inks. I had added it on the gel plate, the first layer, so I thought if I added it on the back layer, maybe I would get a different result. So that's what I'm trying in this one. I did add in some of the mini Mr. 91% alcohol over the top, just to give it some design element. I dried it. And I did use the Collage Medium on this one. I used another one of my mock business cards. And after it was fully dry, I removed that one. And what I would notice about this one is very interesting looking. I liked it, but again, when I pulled the card, the business card, that silver, I just could not get that silver to not be so bold. So again, in the light, if it's hitting the light, you can't really read the words. And then if you tilt it, then you kind of can read the words. So, but I think it hinders the words a little bit too much. So that's not going to work for me either. And that's why I will stick with the one that I did in the beginning, the second one actually that I did in the beginning, where I didn't use any of the silver at all and I only used the colors. And I used the matte Collage Medium, which to me was the best. I really did like the re-inker, the alcohol lift re-inker, but again, it bled through and that's what made that one not my favorite. It had the most unique texture in that one, and it had the most matte look to the overall finish. But again, whether I used the silver or I used the silver alloy, all of those were not good options to use over text and be able to read that text nicely. But I got some really awesome prints out of these print sessions, and I'm going to use these for sure in some of my journaling, my art journaling, and my mixed media collaging. I did freeze this one because this is where you can see that Mod Podge has that interesting texture that I didn't like, that looked like glue on top. Again, my favorite look was the one with the alcohol lift ink of these four. I've got only a little bit more playing around to do to figure out how to incorporate the silver, but otherwise I'm really happy with how these prints turned out, and I'm really happy with what I've learned from playing around with my alcohol inks and trying to see what I can do with pre-printed papers, or in this case business cards, in order to create a design over the top of them. Let me know in the comments, what was your favorite part about this experiment, or did you not like it because it's alcohol inks? I know some of my viewers don't like alcohol inks, but let me know if there was something in here that you learned that maybe you didn't know about. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, y'all, and happy crafting.